Robin Sanet, welcome to Nature of Reality Radio. I had reached out to you since you were one of the speakers at Greg Campisi's recent Awaken event. He'll have another one in March at the Plymouth Meeting Mall. I hope to get to that one. It's right after the spring equinox, I believe. But the recent one in November on 11/11 weekend, you were there, and I didn't get to attend Sunday because I was too weak to get out of bed that day. It must have been the energies of the moon and 11/11. But Saturday I was able to go, and you were one of the people that that presented that I saw, and I completely forgot it was you. Again, I'm dreadful with names. I'm sorry that it was you that gave me that healing, um, that or that reading with the chakras thing, and as a thank you for that, I gave you some ayahuasca tobacco, excuse me, mapacho tobacco, and I told you that it was from the spirit of the mapacho tobacco that humans got the recipe for ayahuasca brew. So yeah, that's sorry about that, but you said I'd love to do ayahuasca someday. I've done it; it's a great experience. Just make sure you follow the dieta well. All you're gonna do is yak and barf and crap your pants out, and you'll get a clearing and a healing from your body, but you won't really get much of a spiritual experience. So make sure that you follow that advice if you do the dieta beforehand. Um, if you ever do that. So anyway, I've babbled long enough. Robin Sanet, glad to have you on. Like I do with virtually all my guests, please tell your life story from a primary source perspective regarding what you experienced that causes you to do the stuff that you do. I do not have Alex Jones-itis. I will put myself on mute and I will not interrupt you. So knock yourself out, and then after that we'll get into the science behind what you do, and maybe and of course regurgitate the stuff you said in your talk at Awaken conference, and I'll maybe touch in on some of the things that I experienced regarding that chakra reading that you gave me. I'll keep it short though. This is for you to glorify yourself, not for me to blab. So knock yourself out. Robin, you got the floor.
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me. Well, let me see. Yes, it's my life story that has put me on this journey, and it started probably 30 years ago. And I have a book, Your Peaceful Life, which references a lot of what happened in my life and struggling from abuse and addiction and all kinds of things and physical illnesses. Every excuse me, I also might have a little choke here because I was around dust yesterday cleaning. But anyway, so my life story was I was having physical illnesses every single year, and I knew someday I would be healed. I knew someday that all the illnesses that I had that are in the book would be gone and I wouldn't be on any medications. Yet, it took me decades to finally figure it out that I had to really surrender to getting to know who I am. And the journey of what I do as a healer, it started when I became a massage therapist, and I would put my hands on people's heads and have these telepathic communications, and things would start happening and they would get better. And in massage school, like, I would close my eyes and I would see things and they would be very relevant to the people. And I didn't get it. I didn't get it at all. We always get given messages and guidance and direction every single day, everything. And I was stubborn. So, decades of hurting myself physically, emotionally, destructive. I mean, you name it, I had it. I had every addiction there's possible, I would say, and physical illnesses. And today I don't take any medications. And today I don't put anything chemically in my body or on my body. My life is and I didn't intentionally do this. It's my evolution of how I live my life today evolved as I began to do on myself what I help people do today. And that is to look at every aspect of myself and every person that I meet as a reflection of myself, because there is not one thing in your life that is the result of somebody else's behavior. Nothing. Any emotional charge you have is a result of something you're not recognizing, you're not acknowledging, or giving yourself credit for, and it has nothing to do with anybody else. And that was probably the hardest thing for me to grasp through decades of struggling. And I don't apply the age so much. I say I'm 61 years young. This journey began in my 20s, and my family suffered. Everybody, every relationship suffered because I just was stubborn until it became a matter of life and death. And the healing started happening over time. Yet I had such little self worth about myself that I couldn't even acknowledge that. Maybe there's something different that I do, And it's only recently that I have really stepped into owning that. Yes, what I do is very unique. It's not the typical, reconnective. The reconnection, yes, reconnection is exactly what I do. However, my approach with the reconnective is very different, and I got very, very precise um, indications of what it is that I do. And given that it took decades of feeling like I was worthy of anything, and now here's my little bit of my history. I mean, I was my whole entire life was based on my physical appearance, and so everything. I was a model. I was extremely successful, yet I didn't appreciate anything. I took everything for granted, and I had eating disorders. I had spending issues. I had my kids were struggling with, my one with addiction, and it's like my whole life was a turmoil. Yet everybody would see the photos and see me on doing commercials and doing shows, and it's like nobody would know the torture and the hell that was going on inside of me between throwing up, 10 times a day and then starving myself. And, it was just one constant hatefulness towards myself. And then I remember when my kids were born, um, excuse me, I remember writing a little note and putting it in a box that I was going to change to break the patterns for my children. Well, that was like a big lie. It took me another couple decades, and thank gosh, let me, think of this like today, because of me working on myself, my son is living an amazing life, addiction free. And I stress that so much because what I've learned and what I do with clients is, yes, I have the ability to be the catalyst, to put my hands on somebody, and through whatever the energies are, the reconnected energies, the 333 frequencies, they allow, healing can happen. The trick to it is the person has to have faith, and they have to believe that it can happen. And anything can happen as far as the healing. And I am living proof, absolute living proof. Because not only was I diagnosed with, HIV, arterial sclerosis, hypothyroid, I mean, you name it, sleep apnea. I had so many things, so many things. And today it's been almost, oh my God, it's going on 2 years. I take nothing, and I'm healthier than I've ever been. But the only reason that is happening, and the only reason I maintain it, and my only job is to continue doing what I do, to be an example, to show people that you are the creator of your reality. You are the one who has the power. It's your emotional charge. It's the thoughts you're thinking, the words you're speaking. Every single thing is energy. Every single thing is a frequency. And you are creating your reality today. There's no point in wasting your time thinking about the past. And why worry about the future? Because you're creating your future right here, right now. And so with my journey, when I was doing the massage, it got to the point where I couldn't continue doing massage because I'd be touching people's heads and they'd start moving or things would start happening. And then I was kind of like, well, you can't do this. You can't tell people this. It's like, I cannot ethically not tell people, hey, by the way, if your head moves, there's nothing wrong with you. This is part of what happens when I work on people sometimes, because they could leave and their head might move in meditation. Their head might move different things. And I'll tell you exactly what I do in a few minutes. So this would start happening. So I had to make a choice. And I knew that massage was past, yet I didn't know how to market myself because things were happening and I had no explanation. I couldn't say, yeah, I'm doing Reiki. No, I'm not. Yet it's like I didn't have a label of understanding of what was happening to people and how I could telepathically have this conversation and then recite back to me what I was saying in my head while I'm working on them. And so I had to leave because where I was working, they wanted me not to tell people I said, if people's hearts start moving, they're going to think there's something wrong. They're going to go to the doctor and get on drugs that are not the reason that it's happening. So, and then, I was working so much. I loved doing what I did. So I was working at a place where I wasn't making much money. I was working 7 days a week because all I wanted to do was do what I loved to do, put my hands on people. And I worked for a chiropractor where I made nothing. Yet I was so busy that the universe decided to stop me. And I also do remote healings, and I'm in an international healing group. And universe decides to set it up where, like, okay, you don't want to stop, let me stop you. So I was still doing, massage at that time, and my healing group came to town, and I met this person, and we were doing it, and we had science because I also have, doing research on what I do. So this person was there, and we're doing, they're checking the data, they're monitoring everything as we're doing the healing. So everything's proven on the computers, and things are happening. Well, this guy lives close to where I live, so we connected like a month or two after my remote healing group went back to California. And we started doing stuff together. And he said, sounds like you're doing reconnective healing. And I said, what is that? Well, needless to say, next thing you know, I cut my finger, and so I had stitches. I couldn't work. So I was forced to stop. And so that time I decided, okay, I'm going to read, I'm going to look into this. So this guy, he suggested that I read the book, The Reconnection. And, okay, fine. I have nothing else to do. I can't work, so might as well. So I read the book, and I'm like, oh my gosh, everything in this book is happening to me and more. I mean, it's like wild. So that intrigued me. So like, well, I go online, I took the course. Oh, okay. And that's still resonating with me. So I went within a month, I decided, okay, I'm going to go take this course. Well, I got there not knowing what I was in for. And I've had some amazing experiences energetically when doing the healings in my healing group, when we were in person, and also when I do them remotely. And so I was there in the training, and I had this surge of energy like would usually happen, where it just overtook my body. And it was like the most amazing experience where I literally I can't even describe what happened. And I wasn't doing anything but loving the person. And somebody has a video of it somewhere. I don't know where it is. All I just remember is somebody coming up behind and taking a video, and I have no clue who has it, what it is, or whatever. I just remember the experience. And it was as if a megaphone was in my head, and like I was the only person in the room, and all I heard was this very clear message of what I was here to do and why I was here. And, it was so crazy. I just dismissed it until like a year and a half later. I'm like, oh my gosh, this really is what's happening. And so I'm at the training, and I show up early. It's like, oh, there's a whole pile of people here. What is this? Oh, it's Reconnection. I said, what's that? And I had no idea. So the week of my training for Reconnective, I ended up, okay. I said, well, how much is it? $333. I was like, oh, well, that's my number. So yeah, I guess I'll do it. I have no clue what I'm doing, but okay, I'll do it. So that weekend I got my Reconnection, and when I'm getting it, I remember it was so clear, and that's where now I own the telepathic abilities also, because during my Reconnection, it's actually, and I do the Reconnection, and I am very specific on people who come to me at this point, because they need to be serious and they need to want to have transformation, because this is no game. This Reconnection is real, and there's no turning back. However, I don't just do it and let people run. I help them, and I guide them, and I coach them, and I teach them how to really, really, really master who they are and look at everything as a reflection, because the ultimate goal is to get back to yourself. So anyway, going back to my Reconnection, so I did the first, one, there's two days, half hour each, half hour each day, and that's it. And people don't touch your body. So there's a group of us in it, and they all start at the same time. And now this woman's making all this noise, and I'm in my head. I'm like, oh Jesus. Oh, I know you're not supposed to say Jesus or God, but I have a habit of doing that. But so anyway, I'm lying there on the table. I'm thinking, oh gosh, I'm spending $333, and this person's so annoying. Oh my God. And I got this thought, tell her to stop. Like, oh, she's you. You're her. Just tell her to stop. It's like, all right. I said, so can you please stop moving? And she's at the other end of the room, and she stops making noise. And okay. And I still don't feel anything, I feel nothing. And so the session continues, and she starts again. And this time was really crazy, because some people's bodies do all kinds of stuff. And it's like, tell her to stop. She is you, you are her. Just tell her to stop. And I did it again, and she stopped, and she never did it again. And and then when I saw her afterwards, I told her what had happened. She goes, yeah. I was like, all of a sudden, I just stopped, and I dismissed that until within this, the last year or so, that I really realized that was part of my gift that I was given, was the telepathic abilities. And and then when I'm done the second day, it's like the woman's asking, you feel anything or whatever. It's like, excuse me. I said, I didn't feel anything. She goes, well, your head was going back and forth all over the place. It's like, I didn't feel it. Well, guess what? Probably 99%, and I don't really like saying what happens in people's sessions, but probably 99.9% of the people, their head will move. And now, and over time, because I kept saying to myself, so this became okay. I was fascinated by my experience that was very unique for me, and so I went and took the certification to do the reconnection, which is, I'm telling you, if you, I mean, I even now, a couple nights ago, I come home and I have to laugh because I come home, my patio door is wide open. It's like, here we go again. So I know you're here, because things move, doors open, when the lights go on. It's like, and one time I came home, my place was getting broken in. I'm so used to the mystical side of this that I welcome it, because you have that ability to be connected to it so fully, as long as you don't bring fear into it. So people are like, aren't you worried? Aren't you scared? When somebody I came home and somebody was, trying to break into my place, and I knew that was part of my own reconnective, because it was a fear. And that day I had to make a choice. It's a long story with that, because I was literally sitting someplace making the choice. Do I want to be the healer, the average healer, or miracle healer? And I come home and to be faced with the biggest fear happening right in front of me, and I had to make a choice that day. And literally my door wasn't fixed for almost 2 months. And I totally dismissed it as like, what? I know how this reconnection works. You're a distraction. Get out of my way. And I'm certainly not going to bring fear where I live. So I knew, and I lived in fear. You read my book, Your Peaceful Life. I was nothing but fear-based. There wasn't one thing in my life that wasn't fear-based, or projecting the past or the future and regretting the past. And by doing that, all I did was recycle the same patterns over and over and over and over. And so going back to the training, so I had the reconnection, I went through the certification, and now suddenly I have a name for what I do. Okay, well, that's great. So I did my best to stay in the protocol, because initially the reconnection, it was done on the body, then it was taken off the body. And I tried my best to stay in that protocol. So over the years, my whole evolution of doing what I do has shifted. And if you read Eric's book, The Reconnection, it's like everybody, you get very specific instructions. You get your own personal reconnection messages. It's whether or not you pay attention to them and you listen to them. And so I would always get like these little phrases. You must want the dream more than the drug. And one night I ended up in like this 3-hour channeling thing that I think I was so tired. Then the person who's doing research on, with me, they were trying to set up in my place because they want to capture, all these things that are happening. I said, do you really think you're going to capture it? It's not going to happen when you're trying to capture it. And so that night, it was like 3 hours of channeling, downloading, and I was given very clearly, you will know exactly what the reconnection does. And over a period of over the years, excuse me, over the years, I know exactly what it does, and I know exactly how to work with it. And it's very different than the traditional. And like even like Eric's way of doing things is different than my way. Every person's going to have their own approach, except I can no longer call it reconnective because it's more reflective healing with the reconnection. The reconnection is the big mama. I mean, that is the key. The reconnection is, that's literally what I do is you, and it's off the body, and that's the 2-day thing that I had done. And it's literally connecting all the strings and strands back to source, back to the original blueprint. And our original blueprint is nothing but pure love. That is the essence of who we are. And we're meant to come here being the essence of pure love in the expression of our purpose, not our job, not our career, not our I'm this or I'm that. It's like your very, very designed personal experience of expression of love. That is it, your expression of purpose. And and I know that this works because the research where I was working on a person, I was given, I was doing the second day of a reconnection on this person. And wait a second, I'm trying to think of it, I forgot. I have to, the second day, and on the computer, because I asked for permission, can I continue? Can we continue doing the research? And while you're getting your reconnection, it's like, yeah, sure. So I did, and we can see it is monitoring on the computer. So me doing the reconnection is really happening. So I needed that at that time, a confirmation that, okay, I'm putting my hands over these people. Is this really happening? I know what happened to my life, but am I really doing this? So after that day, there's not one doubt in my mind, and seeing people's lives transform, there's no doubt in my mind that when I do this on somebody, it is happening. And it's literally connecting you back to you, back to the universe. And then the fun part is this, because I was already on purpose. So if you're on purpose of what your expression of purpose is supposed to be, you're just going to get fine-tuned to being nothing but pure unconditional love. And the only way you can be pure unconditional love is when you learn how to unconditionally love yourself by looking at every person, everything, every event, everything around you as a reflection of you. I don't care if it's an animal. I don't care if it's somebody cleaning the street. I don't care what it is. Everything has a message. Everything is you. So in my case, I was on my purpose. But if I had anything out of alignment with pure love, I was going to get shown it. Okay, you're going to judge somebody? Well, that's not in alignment with love, because you're judging somebody, you're judging yourself. And so if you're on your path, you're still going to get challenged. You're still going to get fine-tuned. And if you're not, it's going to put you in that direction. So you might have stumbling stones. And this is why I will not work with somebody and let them strand it. So my sessions now, they've evolved more too. Like I'll do like when I have a couple of remotes that I do, and I'll do the remote, and then we'll set up a time, and then I'll talk to them for an hour in between the next session, because I have the responsibility to making sure that I don't let somebody go off and don't understand what is happening. So my way of doing it is very different than the traditional way of doing Reconnective, which is off the body, working with the energy, because my hands are pretty much on your body. And going back to how I know exactly what I do, I said, I'm like, my gosh, it's like, how do I explain to people what I do? It is so, it's very difficult to describe it. And yet it's so transforming. And then this movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, came out, and somebody said, oh, you shouldn't watch it because you're too open and da-da-da. And it's like, I don't believe in evil, because if I believe in evil, what am I? if everything's me, I'm sorry, I just don't believe in that. Did I one time? Absolutely. Anyway, so I watched that movie because I'm like, I need somebody to show me what I'm doing. I'm talking to the universe, and I always get answers. We all do. We just have to listen, and you have to be able to put the pieces of together. It's like a charade. So I watched the movie. I'm going against it. It was what this person said, and I'm like, oh gosh, this is exactly what I do. Now, either you're going to watch the movie and you're going to hate it because you don't understand what's going on, or you can watch it from what I do as a reconnection. And the reconnection literally will, and I know it's real. It's so real. There's so many clients that do things that they never did. I paint. I never painted in my life. I failed art class, you know. But anyway, the reconnection literally will take all your lifetime abilities and bring them into now for the ones that are needed now. It's for you to be, because this is the great awakening. This is where all of our lifetimes are accumulated, and we are supposed to be who we originally meant to be here. And so when I saw that movie, I saw it from a totally different perspective, and I thought, oh, this is the genius. Whoever did this movie is definitely awake and knows what's going on, because she literally goes back and back and looks like she's crazy and going whatever, but she's literally going back to different lifetimes and bringing abilities to help her in the lifetime she's in now in the present, which is exactly what happens with us. I'm very fortunate that I remember I've so many of my lifetimes. I was a hero like 7 times. I had details. I know so much about my own experience, and I can see how the gifts from other lifetimes come in. So the thing that is, it's really hard to grasp, and I'm still working on it too, because if we're everything, everyone, if there's not one ability that we aren't capable of doing, because we've all been everything. And this is a time where it's supposed to come together, and we can bring it together by that unconditional love of self, which in essence is of everybody. And I think I just lost my train of thought. But so that was one thing. So okay, so now I see, this is really what's happening. And then the second thing was, how do I explain to people what I do? So then, and next thing you know, I have 2 of my clients. One, absolutely, has these crazy things, physical things happen to the body all the time. And then another one, he explained what he was feeling. And when I had that information, when I had that channeling, I was very clearly, it's like what I do. And this was a hard one for me to say, yeah, right, because I said it to somebody one time. They're like, who do you think you are? So of course, then I was like, well, I guess I'm not. And and I realized it's like when my clients would feed back to me what they're feeling internally, externally, everything. Not only did I have the Reconnect, the Everything Everywhere All at Once movie, and which I did call 8 of my clients in together, and it's like, you need to watch this movie, and I'll show you from my perspective, since you've all had the reconnection, I want you to see this. And I recommend everybody that I give the reconnection to watch it, with the understanding of what it is actually doing. So whoever did it was brilliant, and of course at that time, then comes the water thing, and then comes the fear, and then all these things to distract people. It's like, here's this movie that's, whoa, somebody watches it, somebody might click, but then, oh, let's go distract them. Here's some more fear. That was like, I was like, are you kidding me? Really? More fear? I'm sorry, I'm staying here. I don't dabble in that. I have my own little world. My responsibility is to be pure. I have to be what I preach. That is the only way I can really, really be of service to anybody, especially myself, because I plan on staying healthy. So my only job is to be what I speak, so that my body knows it can trust me and it will stay healthy. So then it was, okay, this is what I do. And like I said, most of the time my hands are on the body. It goes off the body, but most of the time it's on the body. And I know this is what's happening, so I am claiming it. I literally connect the head and heart, and then I open the third eye, activate the pineal gland, and then it restructures, realigns, and repairs the DNA, which is what the reconnection does. The reconnection is literally restructuring, realigning, and repairing the DNA so that it can be exactly what we're meant to be. And the reason people's heads move with me, not everybody, but I really, like I said, I'm really more careful, because then if I say it to people, then they go looking for it, and then it jinxes it, because then you're blocking it. And when the head moves, it's and I've seen it over time with people, and it'll slowly eventually stop when that opening becomes aligned. Like some chiropractors I heard of one when I was at Hippocrates, and he will do something with C2 or 3, I don't know, something in that area where he'll like open that. Okay, that's great, but it's not going to be permanent unless you change permanently. So I have one client specifically, and I'm in the middle of doing a website and getting testimonials, and this one especially, like he doesn't need me anymore. I worked with him for about a year and a half, and he did the work. And I've seen his body going from flipping all over the place, doing all this crazy stuff. His head was going all over, and I would walk out and say, I got to go to the bathroom, I'll be back. I come back and it's still doing it, and I could tell when he was finally at the point where his DNA was getting more aligned and tuned, because I would see his body. And it doesn't happen with everybody. Everybody's experience is different. But literally, I could see his spine rippling, tuk, 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 physically. He goes, what is going on? I said, your reconnection, because he's done the work. He lives it. And now he's able to take a pain and make the pain go away when he recognizes what pattern, what belief, what behavior did I do that just brought that back. Because I can certainly help facilitate the healing if the person's open. I'm not doing it. I'm just the vessel and the channel for it. And I allow myself to be open to that. And because what I want everybody to experience what I'm able to experience. I literally, I'm not dependent on anything outside this world anymore. Nothing. And so now he's able to manage his own pain, and he can, and he's manifesting like crazy. Because not only do you get the physical healing, but you get the ability to create instantly. When they say, I don't even say fifth dimensional, because we're not just fifth dimensional, we're multidimensional. We are not becoming individual realities or individual dimensions anymore. We are bringing all the dimensions together as one. They're all happening at the same time. It's just which frequency are you going to land on today? And it's like I have a question. I'm taking my time doing the website because I want to make sure it's where I want it to be, because I realize I am not willing to work with somebody who just wants to, oh yeah, I'm going to get a biosmosis. No, you're not. Okay, I thought that. And I'm younger and healthier and happier and more joyful and easier to manifest anything in my life today than ever before. And it's because I decided, okay, I guess nobody else is giving this to me, so I guess I better buckle up and do it myself. And it is the best thing I ever did for myself. And the reconnection, it is the best gift you could give to yourself. Absolutely, positively. And like I said, now I will not continue to work with people if they're just okay, whatever. I had a guy for a year. I would come in and I'd do my thing. He did not want to get the reconnection. He was so afraid of it because some things would happen. He'd go home, and his wife thought he was he should see a psychiatrist or something, because his body was doing stuff, and he was so filled with fear. And then he decided, okay, I guess I'll do it. There's only 2 people that I've seen such an instant transformation. Before he even had his second one, he came in after the first and to the second, totally different person, totally different. And then now he comes in, and I mean, it's just incredible to see the transformation. And he's starting to learn how to heal himself by looking at himself as a reflection of everything around him. And I didn't realize the impact of the book either, because so many, because I kind of like poo-pooed it. I didn't even say it was on, that I had written it. I left it on Amazon for a year, and I was like, my son's like, weren't you doing anything with the book? I was like, oh, I forgot all about it. I wasn't advertising. I wasn't doing anything. I haven't done any advertising. Everything I've done is by word of mouth, and it's my clients. For my clients, and for my birthday this year, they bought me a photo shoot, and the ones doing my advertising because they want me to get out there, and I'm like procrastinating because I'm not, that's not my favorite thing. Out and healing, yeah, that's mine. But now I have to learn to be a business person too. So finally I said, okay, it's 9 months, you've been bugging me, I'm doing it. So but I will have a questionnaire, and depending on how it's answered, because if you're going to come to me, you're going to want to be, you are at a desperate point, you are struggling inside internally, and like with the book, it's like I didn't realize the impact that the little exercises have on people. Some of my clients are like, this should be a companion with what you're doing, for people to do the exercises afterwards. And there's a person that, unfortunately, they're incarcerated right now, and they started reading it and handing it to somebody else, and it's like it's changing their lives just by doing the simple little things. And when I wrote it, it was where, this is a few years ago. So it was where I started. It's not where I am now. My meditations, everything is so different. And I don't meditate, I don't sit down and meditate forever, because the whole point is that you become a meditation, that your life becomes meditation. But when I started, I had no idea where to start. I couldn't sit still for 5 minutes. I couldn't tell you what I liked. I knew nothing. So it's very basic, very simple, but if you do the questions and answer them honestly, and I actually, once I decided, okay, I guess I better make this known. So I was like, okay, hey, by the way, this is what I did. I wrote this book, but I never told anybody. I decided to go back and do it myself. Well, hello, I got more layers to do. And I'm always learning every single day. And not only, I've had the reconnection done, and my responsibility as being the person who I am to do this, and given the the gift of being able to do this, is that I become the purest I can possibly be. Because when I put my hands on somebody, I'm not projecting to you. I'm not pushing whatever. I am literally becoming one with you and one with the universe, because that's all we are. There is only one collective consciousness. That is it. This separation, these barriers, it's like you're this, you're that, you're this body. Okay, it's like it's nothing. It's funny because today, because I eat, my whole lifestyle is so different than I ever could have imagined. And the fact that I have these things in my arms, and they're monitoring, and I do the bio well, so I can see different things with my energy centers and how they move. And they've studied, they have data from me for like the last 2 years, so they can see how I've evolved and changed. And it's interesting how the food is such a huge thing, especially for me. So my whole food, and given that I had struggled with eating disorders for most of my life, and here I am, I evolved from fruitarianism to all kinds of stuff. And now I literally live on probably 95% sprouts. I eat raw. I don't put any chemicals in my body. I don't put anything on my body. And somebody wants me to do a photo shoot for something, because I used to do modeling. And I literally said, today I sent a text. It's like, I'll do it, but I'm not putting makeup on my face. It's like it goes against every single thing that I believe, because I know from my own personal experience this. And I was going back to today. So I made, what did I make today? Oh, Brazil nut milk. So I made Brazil nut milk. So I'm learning what to do with the pulp afterwards. So I decided, okay, I'm going to make some crackers with it. So I put them in the dehydrator, and I pull it out, and I'm like, because I was going to cut them in nice, perfect little squares. And I pull it out, and it's like, Jesus, it looks like animal crackers all over the place. It looks like this puzzle. And then I had a client, and I came back up, and I looked at him again, and I realized, wow, this is a metaphor. This is a perfect example of what our life is. All these little puzzle pieces putting back together, except now it's showing up in my food. Yeah, because everything is a message. It's whether or not you want to see it. So that was just another reminder of how the little pieces come together. So, okay, so they look like little crumbled up animal cookies. I'm still going to eat them, but there was a message for me to be reminded. All the little pieces of the puzzle of your life are going to come together. You just have to be awake, aware, and present, and out of your head. I literally don't use cosmetics. I don't use body products. I don't have I don't have to decide what am I going to cook, how many hours I got to go do this. I don't have to decide what kind of lotion am I going to do. Half the time I don't even wash my face. Once a week I wash my face. You know, um, I don't have all those distractions, which I didn't understand how much we're distracted by everything and material things. I've had it all, and I choose not to get wrapped up in that world because it's too much energy, too much thinking, you know. And I'm like I could wear the same clothes every single day, and a lot of times I buy the same shirt. It looks like I'm wearing the same thing. No, I have 7 of them because I don't want to think of that. Oh, should I wear this? Do I look fat in this? Do I look do? It's like I don't want to waste my energy with that. I feel like I have an obligation, and my expression of purpose is to help awaken people to understand that we are the creators. We don't need outside stuff. We need internal connection to ourselves. And you get that internal connection to yourself. And for one who absolutely hated myself, there was nothing. And I'm getting paid a lot of money to look pretty in front of that camera. Yet I hated myself. And, now I let my gray hair come out. And then it's like I don't wear makeup. I don't do anything. I don't put polish on. I literally, and trust me, I don't have the prettiest toes, but I don't care, because it's not about that. It's about all of us learning how to accept each other as we are. Imperfection is perfection. And when you start seeing all your flaws as perfect, just as they are, it's like this is the most liberating, most freeing, most empowering experience you can have, and the best gift you can give to yourself. Because I searched everywhere. I spent money, I spent time, I lost relationships. I was literally a spoiled little brat. And not that I was given as a child, no. But I was able to manifest life. Because everything we manifest. So I was able to manifest all these scenarios in my life where I had all this stuff. Yet I didn't have the responsible mentality and spiritual connection to know how to manage it and know how to understand you're supposed to be enjoying abundance. You're supposed to have these things. And you can what I'm saying mostly is you really have to be careful of what you're thinking and what emotion is behind it, because it is literally going to manifest instantly, whether it's something you want or whether it's something you don't want. So like every time somebody is on my table, they're a reflection of me. There is not one person that I haven't learned from. And I teach them how to see that. And the biggest thing is, yeah, but they did this. It's like nobody does anything to you. Nobody. And that was the biggest thing. Although I do remember this is when and I didn't realize at the time, one of my younger one, he was contemplating killing himself in high school, and I had no idea until decades later, but I remember that weekend because my life was a train wreck, and I just found out about the virus and all kinds of stuff. And so now I have nothing to live for, because I'm going to die. And so I was on more of a destructive path, more of a denial. Although I knew someday it was going to be different. Yet I didn't. I had to go through everything I did so that I am able to be able to put my hands on somebody and I can connect to anything. And we can all do that because we've been everybody, everywhere, everything all at once. Yet this life, and I remember very clearly it's like I was the last lifetime that I've been working on is this particular one that I brought into this life. And it was a very first past life that I remembered. And it would always happen before I go on meditation retreats. And it was a lifetime where with my younger son and myself, and he was my caretaker, and my face was distorted. I was in a wheelchair and I didn't have a leg and all these things. Well, I brought those same things into this lifetime and I was discarded, unacceptable to society. Well, I created illnesses that created that for me in this lifetime. I almost lost my leg at age 4. I created the distortion with a dental all my life. I created every single thing. All those energies I brought in. And I know that this one's the one that's cleared because my son is free today. and now it's like he's free to go because I worked on myself. He doesn't have the memories of that lifetime, but I do, and I'm able to connect those with people. And so I lost my train of thought because there was something I went back to. Oh, okay. So that particular time, he was doing this and I didn't realize it. And I had a fight with my ex-husband, and I have ferrets. I love my ferrets, and they would run wild. Well, I didn't realize it went into the dishwasher. And of course, in an argument, I slammed the door cut, and I didn't know where this ferret was the next morning. And this was my baby. And I opened the dishwasher and it was dead. It's like the guilt and what I felt was so bad. And I was on my way to an eating disorder weekend because, you know, I thought I had recovery. I didn't have diddly shit for recovery for decades. But I remember very clearly, and my ferret's name was Angel. And it was like, I had to learn how to be responsible. And if your ferret this time, it'll be your son next time. And over the years, it very well could have been my son. And I did not understand what being self-responsible was. That was almost 30 years ago. And it was 20, I don't know, it's like 25, 30 years, something like that. Anyway, that being self-responsible, I thought it was about being financially self-responsible, which I didn't do so good at that either because I love to, just fill myself up with all the other stuff and then give it away. The self-responsible is being able to take responsibility for everything that is happening in your life, because we are the creators. We are the divine. We are the divine walking around in human form. And our only goal now is to remember that Christ consciousness, which is the evolution of us going from single dimensional to multi-dimensional realities. And this is the time of it because there's such a break. And if you go to fear, there's no way you're going to get it, because any fear is going to block it. You must become fearless. I know for me, that day came, and it's I still have my ups and downs and still going through, and I still have things I have to work through all the time. And but I remember when COVID had happened, I remember calling a friend. And I said, "Oh my, this is exactly what I came here for." And the relationship ended, and I was on my own, and I had no idea what I'm going to do. No idea. But I ended up going back because in that relationship for 12 years, I had lost everything about myself because the timeline that I was on started up again. And same events, different people, all started up again. At that time, I was on a healing journey doing massage, but the healings were starting to happen. And I was doing raw food, and I was evolving. And instead of staying on that path, I chose to go into this reality where there was everything the money could buy I had. So I know that it doesn't matter. I had the best of the best of the best of everything. And it didn't fill me up at all. It was always a hole that was never filled, and it's like, I don't care about those things, but I had to experience it. So I've experienced poverty, and I've experienced extreme wealth, and I've experienced illness, and I've experienced so much, that I am able to really, truly have the compassion and empathy and understanding for people, and to be able to have this conversation with you now and to really claim that this is what I do. Never, ever in a million years would I thought I'd be saying, yes, this is what I do. And my obligation is to be the purest form of love that I can be. And that begins with constantly working on myself and treating every person, thing, animal. Doesn't matter. I talk to my plants. I talk to my car. I talk to everything. Everything is energy, and it responds to your vibration, and it will manifest what you put out there. I living proof of that too, because I projected, oh my gosh, this is going to happen. Well, guess what? You do it often enough, it's going to. And now I'm so, my only thing now is like, I'm a watchdog of what comes out of my mouth and what's in my head. Because it's like, it is going to manifest. The more you do this, the more you get connected. And if you decide to get the reconnection, which I will not work with anybody, it's like they have to get minimum 3 to 6 sessions before the reconnection. And then the work begins. And you cannot turn back. You cannot. I have some people, that's why I will not let somebody stranded, because those who came and did it and went off on their own, they weren't able to recognize and have discernment when something was trying to guide them, and they couldn't see the patterns. They couldn't see their judging of things. They couldn't see all the little pieces that one thought could have changed it. And like I had a woman up in up near New York when she decided to reach out to me. Her life was a total mess. Kids were a mess. She's going to divorce her husband. Everything else. I mean, it was horrible, horrible. I literally talked to her almost every single day until she finally started putting it together. And then I remember she called me, and she's like thinking, oh, everything's great with her husband. Did you call him an asshole? I said, you just call him an asshole, and you think that's great? So it's like, but I was able to help people because I can see bigger. Like, I will never ever tell somebody what to do. That's not my job. My job is to empower you so that you can make your own decisions, because I was one person who could not make a decision for shit. Everybody would have to tell me what to do, and then when it didn't go right, that's your fault because you told me what to do. Oh, and the more money I spend on you, that's better yet. So I know firsthand what happens when you get to understand your own personal power. And now today, not only is she happily married 6 months later into the relationship, she's so happy. Her kids are doing amazing. It's like a totally, totally different person. But that's happened with a lot of people. And that's why it's like, it's my responsibility to make sure that whoever comes to me is ready for the ride, because it's going to take courage. It's going to take tenacity. It's going to take willingness. It's going to take humility. It's a whole big package. It's not just, okay, get on my table, bye, go. No, I'm just opening up the door, and you got to walk through it. And I'll be happy to take your hand and walk you through it. Because if I help you, I'm only helping myself. And when my guy, a couple of clients now, it's like, you really don't need to see me. You know how to do this. But they come check in, I still see them, whatever. And I talk to them all the time. It's like they become like my friends, because it's like, of course I'm going to help you. Just because you don't come to me doesn't mean I'm not going to be there for you. That's what this is about. It's about each of us helping each other. There's no separation. The more you help other people, the more you help yourself. And the more you help yourself, the more this collective changes. And the more we change this, we can go back to heaven on earth. Because heaven isn't some place outside. It's a state of consciousness. And that's what the COVID, I believe, well, I guess I'll be careful what I say. That's what the big C is, wake up. 2020, get the right vision. Turn it around. Find your gifts within. Find your ability. You become the master of your life. You become the creator. And then you'll see the synchronized lifetime come in. Then you're going to see the synchronicities. Then you're going to recognize that there is not one thing. I look like, like I spend a lot of time alone, because I love my relationship that I have with what I'm cultivating here. And I know, and I deliberately didn't date for the last 3-4 years, because I knew I needed to do my work. Now I'm ready, but I'm not looking for that. That will come in, it'll slide in. You don't need to go look for things. The only job you have is to focus on yourself. And another thing I would definitely say for sure, you don't need to ask 10 times. You don't need to say this or wish and pray for things 5, 10 times every day. No, you have the power to command it. It's done. Here's an example. When my healing group was here, a couple of years ago, when we were doing the healings. We literally did them from 4:30 at night to 4:30 the next day. And then I went to work for this chiropractor all day, but I was full of energy. But that night showed me, because we were taping everything and we were going to go back and review it. And we're working on her, and she started shaking her head, no, 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 no. Okay, well, we go back and we look at the data. At that point in the video, everything stopped. We had no more video. It's like when she made that decision, I'm done. It was done. We didn't get anything else on tape. All the computers, everything we were using to monitoring things and seeing how things are happening with the energy with everybody around us and doing the healing, it was done. So that was one more evidence, just like me seeing on the computer they had with me. When I do that reconnection, I don't care what you think. I know what happens. And I don't care anymore what people think when I say, yes, I connect head and heart. Yes, I open a third eye. Yes, I activate the pineal gland. And yes, that in itself, when you do the work, is going to reactivate, repair, realign, and, the DNA. That's it. Restructure, repair, and realign the DNA. So I know without a doubt in my mind that what I speak is true. However, it takes that little mustard seed of faith, because if you don't have faith and you don't believe it's possible, it's not going to happen. And I actually, years ago, I made these little cards up, and I'm gonna use them, because I made these little cards up, and what I did it for myself when I knew that I'm going to be healed. I forget exactly what the words are, but basically you're making an agreement subconsciously, like you believe you're worthy of the healing and blah blah blah. I forget what exactly it is, and then I have the person sign it. And I made it in a small form that they can put it on the refrigerator. They can put it in a frame. I put mine in a frame, so I saw it every single morning, just to be reminded. And I also have like a plain white canvas on my wall because, besides all my paintings that I paint now, which I didn't do that. That was a gift from the reconnection, but I have a blank one because every day I have the ability to create my life. So the blank canvas is whatever I choose for that day. And I spend a lot of time with because the music we listen to, everything has vibration. So I have a lot of quiet time because I want my radio station to be clear, and like I said, my whole lifestyle, I never ever would I have thought that I would be, and I was one who used all the expensive, my gosh, the person I was with, I think I had every Lemire product there was, everything, because they did that ritual. So it was my ritual. What they did, I did, I became their life and lost myself until I left, and really fully embodied who I am again. And but I don't use any of those things. I don't have to spend time worrying about it. I literally grow my own food. I don't, and it gets more and more and more and more simpler. So I don't have those distractions, and like I don't have to worry about my son anymore because, and even everybody in my family, anybody you're concerned about, instead of focusing on them, focus on yourself. Like my wise son, he used to say to me when I didn't know whether or not he was going to be alive or dead, and one night I was worried a lot about him. And he says, "Were you worried about me last night?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, stop it." He goes, "There's something almost happened." He goes, "Don't you understand that when you worry about me, you're going to create that to happen?" And he's right. He was so right. And I had to remember, he's just a reflection of me. So I had to start looking at my own addictive behaviors, my own. It's like, and one of the things that I'm wearing is all about addiction. So there's a lot of studies being done around addiction, and whatever data they collect with me, that's going towards that as well. And I do know that with an addict, and everybody's an addict, it's not just drugs. We are addicts to our thinking. We're an addict to consumerism. We're an addict to food. We're an addict to everything. There's not one person who doesn't have addiction. So this is above all for everybody. But it's like taking whatever you see in another person. You want to help that addict that's a socially unacceptable addict, that's discarded, then turn around and see where are your addictions. And when I started really, really looking at mine and being honest, he got better, and everybody else in my life. When I started looking at me as this, me as this, me as this, it changes because everything is a reflection. That's why I'm changing my thing to reflective healing through the reconnection. I'm changing everything. Well, I never had all the advertising like now, but thank you to my clients who believed in me more than I did for pushing it, because I was just fine doing my thing. But now it's time for me to really, really okay, I'm ready to really do this, but it's not just reconnective. It is absolutely the reconnection. The result of it is the reconnection, which is the key to everything, to getting reconnected back to source, back to your original blueprint, back to the essence of pure, unconditional love. That is the only thing that matters. That is the secret key for everything. And when fear comes, you walk through the fear. You walk through the fear, I guarantee you, you're going to feel so like me walking through the fact that I'm sitting at a pool thinking, okay, yes, I'm going to be the healer. Meanwhile, my son and his friend and my alarm, couldn't see it because of the sun. I came home at 12:01 and 12 o'clock is when my place was getting broken into. I come home to the cops here, and I had to make a choice. And I go down the hall, and I go into this woman's place who is somebody that I had spontaneously said, "Do you mind if I work on you for my training for certification?" And I didn't know she was going in the next day for an emergency aneurysm procedure. So she let me do her thing. Well, I hadn't seen her. And I thought, well, they're trying to fix my door. I'll just go down the hallway and see, the daughter and then I walk in and the mother's there and she gives me a hug. And she says, I saved her life. I said, what do you mean? She said, because when they went in for the brain aneurysm, they were supposed to have, it was ready to burst when I had seen her. And that's why it was an emergency surgery the next day. And she said they had to break it. They said it was nothing short of a miracle. That was the day I had to make a decision. Do I want to get caught up in the fact that my door is now broken, my physical and safety and my well-being are in jeopardy here? Or am I going to go for the person who's saying that a miracle just happened? Whether or not it was true or whether or not it happened, whatever, it's evidence. And she gives me such a hug and tears, So I had to make a decision, and we're going to all be faced with decisions, especially the reconnection. You're going to be faced with decisions constantly. It's like, which path are you going to choose? And that day, I chose to look at that as a distraction because I wasn't bringing fear to where I live. And I knew from all the funny things that were happening that this was just another test. But my door, the cops ignored it. Nobody did anything, and people couldn't understand, why am I not upset about this? And it's like, I know there's a bigger reason for this. So it took 2 months for the door to be fixed. The cops never followed through until months later. But I had to go through that. And I had to face my biggest fear and be okay with that. And choose, I'm going to be the healer. And I'm not going to be the average healer. I'm going to be the miracle healer through being the channel. Because like I said, this is not me. If I get my head in there, forget it. It goes up the ass and I get nothing. If I become pure, unconditional love, and it's still a process of doing it with yourself, I'm always working on myself because I could still look in that mirror and I could still see the flaws, and it's like, and for me to say, yeah, I'm going to do a photo shoot. Yeah. And I'm not wearing makeup. Okay. This is not somebody, when I was in that business, I wouldn't have walked out the door without having everything all godded up. I would have had to be fixed up perfectly. And now I don't care because it's not about somebody else's perception. It's about your ability to accept yourself unconditionally. And that's a full-time job. You don't get to go on vacation, but I guarantee you the job is well worth the payoff that you get. And your reality is what you see. So as you work on yourself, your reality is going to change. You don't have to worry about changing somebody else. Don't waste your time putting all those extra questions in your head. Don't waste your time worrying about something else. Leave that space. Even if you don't meditate, take 5 minutes. You don't have to do a lot. All you need is the intention and the consistency, and things will happen. Things will come to you. You just have to feel worthy enough of receiving them. And that's the hard part, because we've been so programmed to be, even in, we've been programmed to be negative and lack, because even in kindergarten, you'd play musical chairs. Well, the chairs get taken away until there's only one left. And what about me? Right there's your programming. There's never enough. I'm going to be left out. It's lack. That's not what it's about. We're supposed to be living abundant. We're supposed to be living joyfully. And it's so funny because I have this dental thing that's been going on forever. And one of the caps came off. Now, I tried to keep that in there because it's like, oh, we got the photo shoot and all this other stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I really don't give a crap right now. So it looks like all right, looks like a wicked witch or whatever with a tooth missing on the side. It's like, but I don't care. And for somebody where my whole life was based on what I look like, to be walking around having, my grays coming out and not wearing makeup, and now, because the guy can't see me because he's stuck until, I don't know, January, who knows? It doesn't matter. I don't care. It's not important. It's too much time taken out of my head. And when you get tapped in to that universal field, you're not going to want to be distracted because you're going to want that to guide you. I could actually pet a bee. I could actually touch a bee and it won't go away because I don't have fear. The fear is what makes everything happen. And for me, it's like that was my home. That's the only thing I knew was fear and fight or flight. Never, ever did I know anything different. And I take a lot of I actually I did like a 21-day, not complete fast, I did coconut water and water, and I had 2 days where I kind of messed up, but I didn't beat myself up. I just felt guided to do an extensive fast because it wasn't for physical, it was I wanted to have that. I wanted to see what it was like to have that spiritual connection. And I do a lot of other funky things, but I'm not really ready to reveal to the world because my son goes, "You can't tell people you do that." I said, "I will someday. It's not time yet." you know but there, like, I'm not a religious person, I'm a spiritual person, and I certainly respect everybody where they are. I don't judge anybody, because if I judge you, I'm judging myself. And I actually, all the guidances and all the things I've been led to, because I don't have a TV. Every movies I've seen, they've all been spiritually. I've been guided to them, and they've all been like biblical things and all this stuff. And there's always a message in it for my next step. So I've been guided to read more and more about, more biblical things. And it's interesting because a lot of the ways I live my life have fallen into alignment with all of that. And then I didn't realize that there was something to this fasting. Because for me, I kept getting for years, the food is the key, the food is the key, the food is the key. And when they looked at the data, when I chose to change my food, and at that time I did fruitarian, but I changed it. They said, "What on earth happened with you there?" Because the data just spiked incredibly high, and it continued to change as I began to change the way my food and relationship evolution has changed, where I don't, like, I'm not perfect, and if I'm really, really, really craving something, I'm going to go have it. And there's certain situations where I am not going to put people in an awkward situation. I'll eat the food, because if you're vibrating high enough, it's not going to matter. However, for myself, I need live food. I need simple, because my body just doesn't connect with the heavy, dense food. And a lot of times when I'm days I work, I'll fast, because there's something to it, And when I did it, I didn't ask for anything specific. I just asked for acceptance around certain situations in my life. And, not because you can't have expectations. You have expectations, you're trying to control it, and it's like, I'm still working on lots of stuff. I am so far from perfect, but I understand this journey. I understand how the reconnection works. I understand what my part is. And I understand the responsibility as somebody who does give the reconnection. I have a responsibility to make sure that I can give you what I know is possible. And I need to be that example, so that you have something to say, like, hey, this is attainable. This person doesn't take medication. This person doesn't do this, do this, do this, do this. Not that I don't want to be idolized. That is not my response. That is nothing that I want. One time it was all about, when they came to business, the recognition. That is not it. For me, my abundance is because I want to be able to have the freedom to do this work, so that one person can help another person. Because I tell my clients, I said, now it's your responsibility. Take it to somebody else. It's like, pass it forward. That's it. You don't know where to start? The book I wrote is very simple. The exercises are very simple. I couldn't meditate. I can sit for, I don't know, 5-6 hours and meditate. But I don't really do that anymore, because my life is a meditation. I can go into trance in a second. because I take what I do very, very seriously. I've never been committed to anything in my life. I was never able to finish anything. I was never able to follow through. And the only thing that I have really, really stuck my teeth into, well, speaking of that, but really, really committed to and know that I know is this work. And I guess that's it, because it's one day at a time, one person at a time. But when you think, oh, I'm only one person, I'm insignificant. No, you don't understand. You're one person and you're everybody. And like when I went off all my medications, I had no idea. Research was there once again doing the computers. And a client comes in and she says she went off her antidepressant medicine, which wasn't something I was on. However, it didn't matter, because he said to me, the guy who was doing this, he goes, do you realize that you changing your medication, there were 3 people in my immediate environment that went off their own medication successfully during that short period of time that I had seen that weeks later. If that happened in this realm, what happens all over the world? Just like when I do remote healings in my group and I do them in my own work. People on the other end of the world, they're getting better. So when you change one thing about yourself, everybody is on that vibration. It's going to be affected. And if you totally, totally change, you're going to make a permanent change in their lives at some level. Because, oh, wow, my whole hands are vibrating, I'm talking. But it's like one person is the most important person there is, because one person can change the entire world. So never, ever, ever think that you are insignificant, that you don't matter. Because I was quoted that I forget what exactly was. Basically, you're a waste of space and nobody ever notices you, nobody ever missed you if you left here. You never did anything worthwhile. Well, you know what? That's not true. Because I've seen, as I'm healing myself and as I'm changing, other people are changing effortlessly. You just need to be that example. That's it. So that's all. So I
That
appreciate
was
you listening.
that was
And
wonderful. Very.
thanks. Well, I never prepare. I always trust whatever comes through is supposed to be said. So even when I do the workshops, I don't prepare. So, but thank you so much for inviting me.
You're welcome. You can hear me, right?
Yeah,
Hello?
yeah.
Oh, yep,
Hmm.
yep. Because I said that's wonderful, and you kept talking. Well, that's great. You kept talking. You kept. It's a rare gem when you have a guest on who can keep talking and keep giving lovely stuff without having to interrupt them or anything, which I try not to do, and all that. But that was great, and I'm glad you gave me what you that chakra reading thing, and but then again, I'm not really obsessed with chakras. I think it's better. I try follow the George Kavasos method for the most part. Go with the heart, and you can't go wrong.
Um,
But
Actually, I didn't really mention that. That is actually a very good tool to have. I mean, I use it every single day because, like I said, they're monitoring what I'm doing, and they can see how I've changed. That is actually a very, very informative tool if you understand what it is. If you understand, because I can take when an energy center is out of alignment, because I have a very clear understanding of the energy centers, and when I'm working with clients, I do use it because as they change, those energy centers will become more aligned. And I know for myself, there was one thing, my heart center kept going out, out of alignment. And so I'd go, and I know enough from them studying me for the last 2 years. It's like, okay, what is going on? So I'd go take the scan. And then I realized it's about integrity. It's like I had said something to myself that I wouldn't do, and I decided to do it anyway. And as soon as I put that connection to what it was that I did, and this didn't happen just once, it happened several times. So there was definitely showing consistency. And when I recognized the out of alignment with integrity within myself, the heart center came right back into alignment. And that applies to every energy center, because every energy center has different components of the physical and the emotional, depending on what's going on in your life. So you can look at the root chakra, you can look at the sacral, you can look at the heart, you can look at the communication. And if you understand how they work, and when I'm working with people, a lot of times, depending on the client, I'll do it before a session and I'll do it after a session, depending, what we're doing. And they can see the difference, as they're working through their stuff. And for myself, it was a few months ago where, I mean, because mine's pretty, I go in and out, but I know how to use it, and I have the tool in front of me every day, so I can play with it. Every time it's out, I can go internally and see, like, what am I doing, and I can bring it back into alignment. And so can everybody else. It's like we are all capable of doing this if you understand the emotional component and the vibrations of colors too. Because the colors, like when you're craving food and different kinds of things, depending on the colors that you're craving, it has a lot to do with that. And that's proven by the data that they had. Because I experimented. I did 8 weeks of only fruit. And what I did is I went up and down the energy centers. So one week the first one I did like 2 weeks of red because that's the grounding. And then I'd go to the next one. I'd do like a week of mangoes, or I'd do a week of bananas, or whatever. And I wouldn't just eat small things. I mean, I would eat 15 at a time. It's like I ate. But I did this through every energy center, and the data shows, and they can bring it back into alignment depending on what's going on with you. So I'm very fascinated with that aspect too, because absolutely the colors of the food, colors of everything, the clothes, everything. There's not. We should be able to look okay in any color we wear. If you're in alignment, there's no color that wouldn't be appropriate for you, because we are the rainbow. Except if you're out of alignment in one of them, oh, that might not look so good on you. There's a whole big like this is like my passion. So I'm like fascinated with putting all the pieces together, with the energy centers, with the food, with whatever, because it's not just one thing. So I mean, if I was working with you a few times, you'd see when I would do the energy centers with you could see the changes as you are learning to change whatever your internal things are. Because I don't, like, it's not my job, but you internally know everything that's going on with you. Like I had a guy last night, and he comes in happy-go-lucky, and everything's going great, and he's doing amazing, But then the thing is, heart center is way off to the side, and then I felt like calling him afterwards, because I had a thought about something, and when I did, he fessed up about how he was really feeling when he came in. The anger was towards himself. And I said, that's exactly why the heart center's out. Because all these energy centers, it's not about the integrity you have with other people. It's about the integrity you have with yourself. When you have all that pure integrity within yourself, all those energy centers will be aligned. And you get that by looking at other people as a reflection of you. So you learn how to be whole within yourself. I guess I should have warned you. You get me talking. I don't have a problem with talking about this because I love it so much.
And I loved it so much that you gave me one. Nice little wake up call about what is you. I was pretty imbalanced, and that was pretty good to know. And the one that was out of balance, solar
Hmm.
plexus. I figured that would be. And I've been working on it. I
Yeah.
say I don't pay attention to the chakras much, but hey, there's the saying you're only as strong as your weakest link. And while there may be many exceptions in the real world to that, where you can still go strong even if you have some sort of a weak link, it never hurts to get that weak link fixed. And
Oh, goodness.
yes, yes. Um, and
I mean,
one more.
some days mine are like all over the place. But then I understand, and I have to go. I have to sit and like, what is going on? Did I react to this? Did I do that? Like they vary. But as you learn to, master your emotions and the reactive factory player period, instead of reacting, you're doing responding, and how quickly can you get up? Because you have to have the grace, because we're all going to stumble. We're all going to do it. It's about getting back up and realizing, like when I was doing the fast, I had 2 days where I was like, I really need some of this food. I'm really craving it. And it's not something I would normally want. And of course, I have to have it until I don't want it anymore. But I didn't beat myself up, where in the past I would have like, oh, screw it. I'll just stop and I'll just do. No, you just start all over again. Like your energy center being out of line. All you need to do is recognize it, and then have that grace of forgiveness and understanding and patience with yourself, and it'll go back. And so it's a great tool. It's a great tool to have, to be able to monitor yourself and see just how much power you have to change those centers. So, and like I said, only you know what each center is, an issue that you're working on.
Yes, and there's always more to learn. That's why I'll always keep going to Greg's Awaken events. It's a wonderful event to go to that's nearby, and maybe I'll see you at a future one.
Hmm.
And yeah, this whole
Oh,
interview is going to be free for everybody. I already made that clear. I didn't realize you'd go this long. And again,
I didn't
well,
either.
yeah, I don't do 2 hour shows anymore. People have lousy attention spans, so that's probably not a good idea anyway. But I think we've gone long enough for this show for because of the lousy attention span factor. It may not be great to keep going, but you did say you'd like to come on in the future. I will keep that in mind. Make a note of that in my guest list, future and past guest list, and all that. So thank you
Yeah,
for
well,
coming on. Wonderful. And
well,
I guess
thank you so much.
any last things you want to get out?
No, I mean, I had no idea I was talking that long, and it's like you certainly could have interrupted me
Oh,
because I could keep going and on because I believe in what I do, and I believe in everybody. So thank you, I appreciate that. And if I'm supposed to be back here, I'll be back here. I just go with the flow.
same with me.
So thank you so much. I'm really, really grateful for the opportunity, and I hope people, you know, got a good message from it.
Right. Take care. Good luck, and happy winter solstice coming up. And best of luck to you. Take care. Bye bye.
Thanks, you too. Bye bye.